with another session of Preaching and Preachers on Facebook Live. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. Good morning to my people from the West Coast who get up early to check out the broadcast. And I know they're doing it today because we've got some West Coast preachers on as guests. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. And when you come in, tag someone and let them know that they can jump on the broadcast right now, or it will be up on my page for 2 weeks and up on YouTube for a long time. Okay, so they can check it out there as well. Come on in and let me know that you are out there. When you come in, tag somebody and let me know where you are coming in from. Come on in and join us for what I know is going to be a wonderful, practical broadcast today. This year, I've had a broadcast on divorce, one on marriage, and today we're talking about being single and in ministry. All right, Dr. Sherry Brown Jackson. All right, thank you for joining me. Leah Jordan from Texas, thank you for jumping on. Good morning to my people in the Midwest. Afternoon to the people on the East Coast, and shouting out the folk in the dirty South. We got Pasadena in the house. I told you the West Coast people get up early and watch the broadcast. Come on in. And when you all come in, tag somebody. Let them know they can jump on right now, or they can catch it for the next 2 weeks on my page, and they can catch it on YouTube. All right, I'm going to give folk about another 30 seconds to come on in, and then we're going to get started since I want to give these amazing guests as much time as possible. All right, all right, all right. All right, I see it. There we go. There we go. All right, Woodbridge, Virginia. Reverend Angela Love. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Miami. All right. Devin Brown. Okay. Okay. The folk are coming in from all over the country. Thank you for joining me. Let me go ahead and get started. As always, I'm praying for those who are sick, praying for those experiencing a season of bereavement, and praying for all cities that are under the threat of being militarized by this administration. We are praying for those cities. I want to send a special shout out as I pray for those who are sick to Reverend Freddie Haynes and his family and his church. That's enough said. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, go ahead and tag someone and tell them they can jump on right now. Let's get right to it. Today, we want to talk about being single and in ministry. I always get a request for this broadcast from the single people. When you're going to talk about us, when you're going to, okay, today is your day. All right. Wendell Craig Woods from New Jersey. Thank you for joining me. April Roebuck from Pittsburgh. All right. All right. All right. Thank you. All right. Reverend Reeves from Florence, South Carolina. Thank you all. Carlos Perkins from Indianapolis. All right. The people are on. All right. Annapolis, Maryland. Okay. Okay. Thank you all for joining me. Let's get to it. Let me introduce my wonderful guest. We're going to start with Reverend Bianca Richardson. She earned a Bachelor's of Science in Architectural Drafting and Design, and MS in Construction Management, and MA in Christian Education. And she's currently an MD seminarian at Duke University, slated to graduate in 2026. After 7 years of pastoral leadership at St. James Baptist Church in Durham, she became a church planter and pastor of the Pillar Community Church, and affirming justice-oriented hybrid ministry. This year, she celebrates 29 years of preaching ministry. Then we have the Reverend Dr. Anthony Riley. Reverend Dr. Riley has served as pastor of Central Baptist Church of St. Louis since March of 2019. Central supports educational and nutrition programs. They have a rite of passage program for middle school students and the Central Gardens Initiative, which promotes food security, mobility, and connection with creation. In 2025, he launched the Black St. Louis Buyout, a collective initiative fostering sustainable economic growth in the Black community. Dr. Riley contributes to theological education as an adjunct professor with the Lake Institute on Faith and Giving at Indiana University. He's a doctoral mentor at Memphis Theological Seminary and a faculty for the Issachar Church Growth and Development Conference. He also serves on the planning team for Baylor University's African American Preaching Conference. He earned a BA in religion from Trinity College, an MDiv from Princeton Theological Seminary, and a Doctor of Ministry from Virginia Union. And he's the author of 2 devotionals. One is titled In the Shadow of Grief, and the other is titled Processing. Then we have the Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Thompson. She currently serves as the senior pastor of the Allen Temple Baptist Church in her native Oakland, California. Her 2019 election made history nationwide as she was the first woman called to serve as senior pastor of this historic African American Baptist church, which was founded in 1919. Before being called to this in this capacity, Dr. Thompson served as the assistant pastor at Allen Temple. She received her Bachelor's of Arts in Political Economics from Berkeley in California, the Master of Divinity from Howard University School of Divinity in Washington, D.C. She's been inducted into the Morehouse College Board of Preachers. She's currently on the teaching staff of Berkeley School of Theology in the area of public theology. I'm going to ask, because this was a mistake on the part of my people, Reverend George Hurtt, would you introduce yourself?
Oh, really? That's
Yes,
great.
yes.
I'm a #1 fan of the Detroit Lions, who are the upcoming Super Bowl champions,
I knew he was
and
going to go there.
Oh
and
no.
and I'm glad to be here. I have none of the accolades that was just read off. So just when you hear them intro, just think opposite. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because I'm good friends with the great Dr. Martha Simmons, who have made such an impact on preaching. And she always try to balance off her shows like this to put somebody on there with less criteria and intellect and insight, so that when the people are watching, they're not
See, I did
overwhelmed
this because I
by the
knew,
big words and things that will
Reverend,
be
tell him
said.
the name
I'll
of
be
your
right here.
church.
I
Tell him the,
do.
tell him
I
the
am
name
the
of your
head.
church.
I am the head deacon at Mount Sinai Baptist Church in Los Angeles, and the New Revelation Church in Pasadena. And I had the privilege to study my doctorate of ministry, and only made it through because one of our cohorts was led by Dr. Martha Simmons, and I praise God for everything.
Oh gosh. He's not the head deacon. He's the senior pastor. Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's true.
Oh yes. This is the kind of show it is going to be, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Last but not least, we have Reverend Melech Thomas. He is a leadership, excuse me, he received his Master's of Divinity from the Samuel Wood DeWitt Proctor School of Theology at Virginia Union in 2021. He was inducted into the Morehouse Martin Luther King Chapel International Board of Preachers. Reverend Melech's leadership and service during the Freddie Gray protest in Baltimore were featured on the front page of the New York Times website. He is the senior pastor of the Payne Memorial AME Church in Baltimore, Maryland. He has been featured on The Breakfast Club, The Tamron Hall Show, The Roland Martin Morning Show, TV1, CNN with Anderson Cooper, ABC News, The Week, and print publications like The Washington Post, The Baltimore Sun, and The Boston Herald. Welcome, everybody. Everybody. It is wonderful to have each of you. I'm just going to go get right into the question, starting with Reverend Richardson. I think I already answered this question for you in reading your bio. Tell us again where you currently serve and how long you've been in ministry.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Martha Simmons, for this invitation and being on your platform. I really appreciate it. So I wanted to get that out the way, and thank you. So certainly grateful for that. I serve at the Pillar Community Church. I reside in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have been preaching for 29 years. I started very young preaching. I've been in ministry for a long time, and I am looking forward to many more years.
All right. Reverend George Hurtt, where do you currently serve and how long have you been in ministry?
This past August makes 30 years of preaching. So I started preaching when I was 2. And I serve in the Los Angeles, Pasadena area.
Thank you. Reverend Riley, how about you?
I serve the Central Baptist Church in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been here for 6 years, but in full-time ministry for 17 years.
All right. Reverend Thomas?
First of all, thank you again for having me on. I serve at Payne Memorial AME Church in Baltimore, Maryland. It's also the church that my dad pastored 2000 and 2005. Yes. And so I've been there the last 2 years. And I've been in ministry for 18 years.
Okay. How about you, Pastor Thompson?
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Simmons for having me. Good morning to everyone who is there. I am like my Southern California Bay Area. I've been in ministry 30 years, and I am at the Allen Temple Baptist Church. I think senior 6 years, assistant pastor. I want to say maybe 7 or 8, and then prior to that, Shallow Church in DC.
All right. Okay, let's get to it, Reverend Richardson. Churches often want married pastors. We know that that's still the case, but all of you all are single. How have you navigated that? Churches wanting. You've been doing this, you've been preaching for 29 years. How have you navigated the fact that churches often want married clergy?
Well, my first pastorate, actually, I served there for about 6 years before I was voted in as the pastor. So they had an opportunity to actually see me in leadership position. I was actually over reach in, reach out, reach up. These were how the particular ministry was set up. So reach up was related to worship service. Reach out is anything that was in the community, and reach in was anything that was programming within the church. And so I was the director over all of those ministries. And then I became the assistant pastor. And then when the pastor left to go to a different ministry, I became the interim and was voted in as a senior pastor. So they actually got a chance to experience ministry, experience my leadership, and also how I handled my personal life as well. And so I think that was indicative, obviously, on, how I maneuver personally as well.
Okay. Reverend Hurtt, how about you? How have you navigated this?
Yeah.
Churches wanting married pastors, but you are single.
Yeah, my situation is similar to Pastor Richardson. I was at the church beforehand, So they knew me. Came there at 23, started passing at 30 something, was in position, matriculated through school and everything else. I do want to say that, churches don't know what they want. They in these committees and
Whoa.
they have all these criterias that none of them have. And there's actually more of an advantage of having a single pastor than it is having a married pastor.
Hmm.
And Paul sort of affirms that as well. And so I just wanted to throw that in just to say something.
Reverend Riley, how about you?
Dr.
How
Simmons,
you navigate it?
so for me, a little different. When I applied to Central, I was married.
Hmm.
And in the process of time with our wonderful Baptist churches, a year or so later, I was divorced. So in the
Okay.
first interview I had on Zoom with the church, I was divorced. And the second question was, should we call you to serve as our pastor? What will the role of your wife be? I said,
Whoa.
I'm glad you asked. So I shared the news with them. And their response was they were fine with that. They wrestled with this question with my predecessor. And so Central has been affirming for me, the welcoming for me, for my son, my 13-year-old son lives with me, the welcoming for him as well, and have not pressured me or pressed me in the 6 years I've been there to get married. So it's not been an issue at Central.
Okay. Okay. It wasn't an issue at any place else, or was this the first church you applied to serve?
So it was an issue someplace else I applied to serve, and I was rejected for that very reason. Yes.
Whoa.
The committee was very gracious in how they let me know. They called me outside of the process to talk me through it. There's an assumption I find that some churches have that if you are single, you don't have integrity, and that's not true. But you can't say that in an interview. The church want what they want. I was with Dr. Booth some years before he died. He shared a comment. I'm sure he shared it in public before. You can't argue down a lie. You have to live it down. So this rumor, this myth around those who are single, as if we don't have discipline or discernment or integrity, is just not true. But processes are what they are, and they told me very, very nicely, we're going to look for somebody else.
Reverend Thomas, how have you navigated it?
So somewhat similar to Pastor Riley, I was engaged with somebody who I had been together with for a long time, and while I was pastoring in Chicago, the church that was on the first flyer we put out.
Because his people sent the wrong information, but go ahead.
That's what it is, for sure. I was engaged, and I had fully intended to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And then when I moved, came back to the AME church and moved to North Carolina over the course of a year, I was pastoring, got a call. After a while, it had been rough, and she basically was like, hey, I love you, but if you ever decide to be anything other than a preacher, give me a call.
Whoa.
And so, I had to carry that quietly because everybody doesn't even know my business. But I think it's more the subliminal stuff for me. I think because I am a lot more protective about my personal life and my love life than I probably ever have been now, a lot more boundary. People won't just say things to me, to my face, but it'll be little inferences like, I can't wait for you to bring such and such here. I can't wait for you to bring a wife here. And so it's been a little bit easier for me to navigate in terms of making sure people mind their business. I think it's been more so in terms of time management. Not having that balance has been probably the more tense part, because I'm not at the place where all I want to do is at the church. I do want to be married. Okay. And I can't take dates in the sacristy.
Right.
Please don't, Reverend.
No.
Please don't.
I'm gonna end up on Larry Reed.
No, please don't. Please don't. So that balance is important. Dr. Thompson, tell me about navigating this throughout ministry.
Well, I think I'm similar and different. And so I came to Allen Temple, which was my home church. When I came as assistant pastor, I was actually in a relationship. It became more of a distraction than it was a benefit. Because similar to what Pastor Riley lifted question, what's going on? What's the nature of the relationship? How serious is it? And it was also a person who was in the public eye. So then the rumors and the speculation that began. But I have the benefit in the same way as Pastor Richardson. I served in that capacity. And so they saw me in ministry. They saw me fishing. They saw me travel. And so it hasn't been as much of an issue. And I think what has also helped is I am at a church where the pastor's wife was not expected to have a role. So in the previous pastors that came before me, we did not have that quintessential, stereotypical first lady model. Our first ladies, if they want to be active, they could be. If they didn't want to be active, they didn't have to be. And so, for instance, with Dr. Smith Sr., his wife taught Sunday school, and she sat in the balcony. But there wasn't that kind of pomp and circumstance that we're used to in the church. And so I think it's been helpful in terms of people not having that unrealistic. But I also have to go ahead and get it popping, even though I know we'll get to it. There is a different psychosexual dynamic that's placed amongst the membership and the pastor when the pastor is female. And so in many instances, and I will say it like this, Pastor Richardson might see it differently than I do, but you are not to cut the slack that my male counterparts are cut. I don't have the benefit of kind of bringing people in and through, being public, similar to, Pastor Thomas. You kind of have to have your boundaries real clear and move stealth, that your desire for balance in relationship does not do to your ministry. Because the natural assumption is, the saints will take it and run. But I think it's been a matter of just ministry being faithful, being honest with the people, and also being circumspect in your dealings.
All right. Okay. Definitely, it's all of that, including being circumspect. Okay. Mm-hmm. That because they do look at women. You do get treated differently. They want the men to be married, but they stay all up in the women's business, okay? Exactly. Especially making assumptions about your free time if you are single, okay?
Dr. Simmons, can I add something to that?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I would also add that even at my first pastorate, it was some people told me that they were praying that I didn't get married. Because they thought that if I did, that I would have less time for the church and the ministry. And so I just want to add that as well, that there is this dynamic. And sometimes people do have this viewpoint and a different concern for women as a pastor. Than our brothers.
I mean, I've heard it.
And I'm laughing at Melech shaking his head. He's like, no.
I've heard it, all the kind of
the devil is a liar.
They will literally ask a single woman who's up for a church, are you thinking about getting married and having kids? Mm-hmm. They will ask you that. They will, like I said, it's a whole lot of stuff going on.
Dr. Simmons, if I may jump in as well. I would just say, I do think that some of the comments I've heard are meant to be supportive. Mm-hmm. For me, being in St. Louis, but no family there, no biological family. I have made friends, but no friends there. My pastoral colleagues across the country, I've made some in the region, but I don't have any who are organically here. 13-year-old son, single father. I think some people actually do genuinely say, who is there to support you? We know you're our pastor, that's your role. Who's there for you? So there is some messiness, yes, but also some genuine concern. Who is there to support you as you support us? I want to name that for those members of my church who are watching. I love you.
All right.
Good answer.
Yes. Reverend Hurtt, what one or two things, do you wish churches understood? Because you mentioned earlier how much churches didn't know in terms of working with and interviewing candidates. What one or two things do you wish they did understand about people being single and in ministry?
Yeah, that's an important question. I think first of all is understanding that we're not a monolith and that our experiences are not singular to being defined by our marital status, and allowing that space to have organic understanding of who we are and what our essence and how it differs. Some of us are greatly offended by those intimate questions. Other of us want to be an open book and let people know. And so just giving people the space, not to define them by what you stereotypically think a single person would do. I think the other thing that's important for them to understand is that just because I'm single does not mean that I don't have a personal life. And that personal life is my personal life. It's not your personal life. It's my personal life. And so there's some stuff that I don't want to talk to you about. I don't want to share with you about. I don't want you walking through about. I don't want the subliminal prayers about me in public settings as well. I think I'll stop there. But those are two things that jump out to me for sure.
Reverend Thomas, what do you wish? A couple of things you wish churches really understood about being single and in ministry.
I wish that churches understood that just because I'm single doesn't mean that all my time goes to you. I think that's very, very important.
Yeah.
Growing up in the church, and my parents, prominent AME pastors, power couple, and there was always this assumption that if one of their kids went in ministry, then they would be in the ministry with another preacher. And so, like, growing up in that household, that's all they did was church and teaching. That's all they did. And as a single man who wants to be married, but also I'm not just fitting to be out here with anybody, with just anybody. There is this assumption, well, he ain't, he's nobody at home, he's just living by himself. Like, he can answer this call at 11 o'clock at night or 10:30 or whenever, and it's not like anything in danger. It's like you just wanted to chat. And sometimes it ain't about me even want to be on a date. Sometimes I just want to watch reruns of Boardwalk Empire. I want to just I want to live life.
Really?
I like to put on, like, my favorite thing to do is to put on headphones and just walk. And for you to think or to assume that because I don't have that family or that marriage, that my time belongs to you, I think is kind of jacked up. I think the other thing is that you need to give, if you want your pastor to be married, you need to give them space to do that.
Okay.
You need to give them space to date, give them space to not, you not asking them every week who you dating, anybody special, bringing somebody around. And I know you mean well, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And it makes me less likely to want to bring somebody around a space where people are actively trying to surveil my life when I know their capacity to pick every little aspect apart, which will in turn ruin the relationship I'm trying to build.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dr. Thompson, clergy can get hit on wherever they go. Yeah. Wherever they go. So have you had to navigate being single and people in churches making passes at you and all of those kinds of things, because you're kind of cute. How did you navigate that?
I would say, since being in the pastorate, it's been a bit easier because, you have security, you have deacons, you have people that are around. When I was itinerant, because, prior to this, I was itinerant probably about 46 weeks out of the year. I actually had to start traveling with folks. I actually had to, be circumspect around who picked you up, because I had to stop three times. Because you go to preach somewhere and they'll send someone to the airport to pick you up. That's their transportation ministry, not really, they have your cell, they know where your hotel is, they know all of the. And so I've had several incidences where I had to either not go back to the church or take things further with that ministry because someone that they sent kind of out of order in terms of them doing their ministry, picking you up, taking you around, whoever they were assigned. And so just kind of setting personal boundaries in place in terms of, some places I go, no, don't you send nobody, I'll get there. Those arrangements, or making sure that I'm, travel with someone, or building a rapport.
I think we just lost her audio. Okay. No. Okay. We can't hear you now. Okay, we'll come back to Reverend Thompson. How about you, Reverend Richardson? Have you had those issues? People.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I actually sometimes when I go to certain areas, I have to have my own security. I had stalkers. I actually live in a different area in Raleigh because I had a stalker that was connected to my first pastorate. Also, just this year, I had to work with my attorney to issue a cease and desist order to someone that I did no longer want to contact me. And this person was in leadership over me that I served with. And I had to have boundaries while I served with them. And after I'm no longer in that role, now I also have had to have that as well. So things do happen like that, and we really do have to have those boundaries. When I preach, people travel with me to kind of be that buffer, and then also the security at the host church. You know, sometimes I would make them aware if there is something that is brewing online or anything like that. So I have certainly experienced that.
Yeah. Because I was out there before you could have somebody travel with you. Yeah. Back in the day, if you had somebody travel with you and you were a woman, people were like, we're not paying the extra money, okay? And you had to figure it out, from the stalkers to the crazies to the whole 9 yards. So it's unfortunate that is still occurring, but I wanted our listeners to know that this is some of the kind of stuff that you deal with, especially if you are single and a woman in ministry. It can be a lot. Reverend Riley, have you had any of these kinds of situations?
So by the grace of God, I have not had a stalker in my travels. But I also think it's important to note, when we're traveling, we're on ministry assignment. Mm-hmm. I'm not there to graze. I'm there to sow. And I think sometimes it's an assumption that, this is my cousin, my friend, my mom, my aunt, my daughter. Nice to meet you. God bless you. Can I pray for you? Goodbye. I'm here on assignment, and being clear about that myself sets a standard so that I don't present. I may be cute too, like Dr. Thompson, but nothing is inviting about this interaction. We're here to do ministry.
Reverend Hurtt, since you've been a senior pastor, do you have protocols or protections or boundaries as you're dating? In other words, can the people you date, can they come to your church or come if you're preaching somewhere else? Do you have protocols in place?
I just think it depends on the person and the season of the relationship. I try to be as organic with those things as possible. There are individuals at times where that would be not good for several reasons. And then there's others that I feel that may be more mature to the church scene and understand what those boundaries and limitations are. The expectation that you're going to be, I'm gonna call your name like my spouse and get up. This is my significant other, and we're on our 6th date. Like that's not happening. All right. And so if you can't understand that, and then that's probably not good for you to do that. But if you know how to walk in that space, and not jeopardize my witness and my assignment, which that is rare. It has been rare for me. For the most part, we try to keep those worlds separate, because people are always looking for a reason to slander, to assume, and to create space that sort of dilutes what the role is for. And so with that, that's usually the mode of operation for myself. I don't think someone should have a hard line rule. I think they have to go by that situation and that person. And there are some that may be able to walk in that with the understanding of logical, what we would know as common sense things, but not at times, especially when you're dating somebody that's not as familiar with the church life, preacher life, is not they're like confused. Like, what do you mean?
It's not
what do you mean I can't walk in holding hands with you, or things like that? Like, so you just did it at the park yesterday. So you know what? So it's like, hey, may the Lord watch between me and you while we're absent one from another. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Not everybody will understand, and I watch as clergy, our single clergy, are sharing some of this stuff on Facebook and
yeah,
Insta and
yeah.
etc. And I'm just like, I hope they know what they're doing. I hope they know what they're doing. Reverend Thomas, um, do you have protocols, protections, etc. That you've got in place?
So my protocols come from two different places, and I preface this by saying that I have not always done right by myself, and then also just minded my own boundaries. But one boundaries that I have tried to stick to, and I believe I've done a good job of, is not dating anybody who's a member of my congregation. It comes from two spaces. One, when I was in college, my sister Mercy once told me, and I'll edit it for this conversation. She said, "Melech, never ish where you eat." That was the first thing she told me.
Right.
But the second thing is, when I graduated seminary, I took a job at Covenant United Church of Christ in South Holland, Illinois. And, this was my first time working for a UCC church. And as a part of you being a full-time clergy in the United Church of Christ, you have to sign a code of conduct, which has a byline in there called abuse of power. And that if you start to, like, they say you should not date within your congregation. But also they say that if you do, then either the person has to leave and go to another church, or you have to leave and go to another church.
That's correct.
But the theological confusion that takes place, because it's no longer just you dating a preacher. They're dating the person who is responsible for telling them what God said. And it just blurs lines, that even though I know that, even in terms of just ministry and other people in ministry, I've definitely dated other people who are in ministry. I've dated people who have been at churches where I've preached that or gone out on dates, nothing serious. But also that's something that kind of, there's a fear of God in me about that. And so I've tried to kind of stick to that. Also, when I go travel places, because I also have had stalkers. I have had people who have reached out, and I know some of my colleagues are going to get a laugh out of this. Can you pray for me? I'm going through a whole lot.
Yes,
and
indeed.
then it turns into, a conversation where I didn't know that it was going here. And one of the things I've had to work through in therapy is being firm on my boundaries. Being a survivor of abuse and of sexual assault, especially as a man, like you confuse yourself with whether or not your no matters. And then in church, as a pastor, they don't want your no to matter, because if you tell them no, it's like God telling them no.
Yes.
And so trying to grasp, hold, and stay strong to my boundaries, particularly over these last few years where the stakes are just really, really high. I can't say that I've been perfect, but I've done the best I could to maintain those boundaries, because I don't want to be an embarrassment to God and to my family.
Yeah. How about you, Pastor Thompson? I mean, you got protocols. You date people in your church you pastor. Tell us about your protocols. We lost your sound again. No, we still can't hear you. Do you take your earplugs out? Okay. We can't. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Let's hope her sound comes back. Okay, we're going to give her a moment to come in and go out and come back in. How about you, Pastor Riley? You've got protocols?
Yes, ma'am. So at Central, I'm never alone. There's always another person, member of our diaconate, one of our disciples who's with me when I'm ministering. But also for me, unlike George, so for me, I date pretty privately. Not that you're not allowed to come to the church. It's not a hard and fast rule, but I try to weigh you dating Anthony and dating Pastor Riley. Now Anthony spends most of his time as Pastor Riley in the church, but I want to hold those two things in tension. And I also want to make sure that while you can spiritually cover me, you don't assume that role because we're not in covenant yet. So that's a tension that I carry, but I do date. And for me, dating is dating, so we'll do that. And I'm not gonna pop up at your job. You won't pop up in mine. It's just generally how we flow. But again, you know, people are different, maturity, etc. That's generally how I flow.
Yeah. Okay.
I date privately. I don't know what he's what Riley's trying to pick on me. He's been a bully a long time. That St. Louis life. Yeah.
314. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm gonna stand up for myself a little bit.
Let me see. I'm hoping that we can get Reverend. Okay. Hoping Dr. Thompson will come right back. Okay. There she goes. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, ma'am. Go right ahead. What are your protocols?
Devil trying to keep my story under wraps. No, there is no dating members who are within the church. Two, I am not the person who will bring whoever I am dating present around the church, because character assassination is a real thing. Like, I love the church that y'all are talking about, but the one that I function and move in through, character assassination is a real thing. And they will take an appearance with someone and it becomes a complete scandal on one end or the other end. And so part of me feels like in this season, I almost just have to pop out. Like, can't even let anyone know that you're dealing with anyone. You just gonna have to pop out in a full scale engagement or relationship. But what I do want to say is I think it's very important, and Melech, I heard you talking, and the importance of therapy and making sure your boundaries are your boundaries, because it is so easy to be influence expectation of that you serve and to take on their expectations as your reality when it's actually in conflict with who you are, who you're called to be. And so for me,
that's right.
I can live other people's theology, can't live other people's ethic. I have to be true to the one that called me. And so of what churches sometimes can place on pastors, married or single, they'll realize is rooted in oppression, is rooted in an ethic and an ideology that nothing to do with who we are people, and really is rooted in respectability, right? It's
Lord knows
not so much now, because we have lots of that are married, lots of pastors that are in relationships and miserable, and we don't care as long as they come in
or messy,
dressed up, take the picture. And so I think that we have to just kind of be honest and make sure that the boundaries we set in place are boundaries and our protocol. So no, for me, not date those who are members of my church, and I am also not the one who will be out kind of seen with someone unless it's that point. So when y'all just know it was coming, it's coming.
Dr. Simmons, if I can add something to that just really quickly, I think that's a very poignant observation. I think a lot of why my, I guess, reluctance to date or even to bring folk around in the church is because I have seen how married preachers are who were forced to get married in order to get a church. And I hear how they talk about their wives. I hear how I see how they move when there's no cameras around. And what's interesting is the single preachers are the ones who get the slack for not being married, when oftentimes we are trying to move with a greater sense of ethics and minded, and sometimes people who the married ones are the ones who have something easier to hide behind. And so I'm not calling out people or anything like that, because we all have clay feet. I just think that in order for us to grow as a church, not just in our own romantic and relational lives, we have to be more honest about our ethic, whether it is single, married, whatever. We need to be more honest about it, and so that people can live more honestly. And the more honest that people live, I think the more ethical of a society, particularly in church, that we will have, and it'll make it easier for people to be single and pastor, because it's not shrouded in secrecy and mystery. Because somebody, like, I have to be mindful about, I'm in Baltimore. Baltimore is a big city, but it's a small city at the same time. I can walk to CVS, I'll see a member see me on Sunday, like, Pastor, I didn't know you wear shorts. Like I can't even have my legs out without, on a 95-degree day.
Been there.
And so I think,
and humid.
oh yeah, for sure, especially out here.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important for us to, and I speak this to myself and to like for us to just move with a greater sense of honesty, not just with others, but with ourselves about what is my lived ethic, what is my lived theology. I can't do what my parents did. I'm not,
and I won't let anybody else push their respectability issues on me. Reverend Richardson, how about you? Do you have protocols when you date people within the church you pastor? Tell us about your protocols.
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't date anyone that's in a congregation. Kind of like Melech, I haven't always been true to my boundaries at times, which is why I have other people around me that help to keep me accountable. And I think that's really important as well, because we have to also be honest that yes, I may go preach somewhere, but there is going to be someone there that is attractive. And if they come up and shake my hand and shake something in my hand, I'm going to give it to my assistant. And I'm going to say, you read it, because I need to stay accountable. And so I do have those boundaries as well. And so I think it's important for us to also be honest and knowing ourselves. And this is where, and I'm, jumping ahead too, but I wanted to, just think about this idea of how we make sure, as it relates to therapy, that we, in between our relationships, that we also unpack and assess the person that we have become because of that relationship. Sometimes there are relationships that change us. Sometimes there are relationships that change our frame of mind. And so sometimes there's a need then for new boundaries and reassess boundaries as well.
Absolutely. Change for new boundaries. So, Pastor Hurtt, what do you enjoy about being single and in ministry? And then what's the most difficult thing? Two questions. What do you most enjoy? What's the most difficult thing?
I think the thing I enjoy the most is the freedom and the ability to have dictated peace. As it relates to that's big for me. And it also at the same time is the probably most difficult thing, because there's that need for accountability. There's our sanctification grows through developing and learning and walking through other people, and having to have difficult conversations and work through things. And I think that's one thing I enjoy, and one thing that I probably is most difficult, because that will help. It would be great to have a helpmate to work through and think through things, and to help with these bills and stuff and all that other. And so, but at the same time, there's less bills, and so that seesaw effect of those two realities. I also want to kind of, in light of this question, say that like everything else in life, it ebbs and flows. And so there are times where you are just tremendously joyful and satisfied in your single season, and there's other times where you go through deep, dark loneliness, borderline, maybe even depression. I want to use trigger words, and so that's just a reality of how it is. And so the very thing that I may be joyful about today may be the very thing that that is causing me strain and stress on the other day. And so living in that reality and trying to balance that off, obviously with our spiritual disciplines, is the way we get through it. However, we're still in that, we're still in that development stages of figuring that out, and we're learning ourselves at the same time, and trying to figure out what is those things that we want and do not want to be a part of our journey while we're there. I think it's very important, though, however, lastly, to have a sense of contentment wherever you are, because you don't know, you look at something and may envy it, but you don't know what that person is going through on the ins and outs of it. And we
That's
know
right.
that the grass may look greener on the outside. And so just to be very content on where you are now, and preparing yourself as much as preparing myself, I should say, speak for myself, preparing myself much as possible. So if the Lord does bless me with that helpmate, that I'm in a space where I don't destroy that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Reverend Riley, how about you? What do you
Yeah.
most enjoy, and then what's most difficult?
I'm gonna say ditto for me. I love solitude, and not you can have that with someone else. As an only child, I understand how to play by myself and enjoy it, and not be upset because I don't have somebody else. I can create, read, write, run, travel, eat all the things, and enjoy
Yeah.
my own company. So I enjoy the solitude because there's a difference between aloneness and loneliness.
Sure.
And I can have the book in a crowded restaurant and be just as content and not feel lonely, although I am alone. On the flip side, there are those seasons when you do want to have that companionship. I was in St. Louis for a year and bought a house. I like to invest and have some equity in something, really build, as has been stated. I remember the first Sunday after my divorce was final, preaching at my former church, and I sat down, and I remember audibly the enemy saying in my ear, "Look at how you bless the house." All the external signs, people shout, people join, all that stuff. Look at how you bless the house. And now you and your son get to go home alone. And I can hear that voice to do my own internal work, to be comfortable in my aloneness, in my disciplines, to find ways to rebuild and recoup after I ministered. But I remember hearing that voice, the enemy saying that, having to squash that voice, to own the moment for what God had done, and honor the space that I had to go and relax with my son and enjoy the rest of the day. It is, as George said, it is both blessing, but also it is a big burden.
Melech, what is it for you? What do you most enjoy, and what's most difficult?
So I'll echo some of the sentiments. Definitely, the freedom is awesome. So like this week, I'm leaving on Saturday to go preach in Chicago, and I'm leaving straight from Chicago to go to Africa for 10 days to preach, and I'm coming right back. I'm like, I don't have to have that conversation with anybody. That I don't have to get pre-approval. The most difficult part is that when I get back, I'm coming back to an empty house. And I think that because I spend so much of my time, I'm not the only child. I'm the youngest of four, and we were all born within 5 years of one another. And so even when we fell out, we were close. I lived in the rooms with my brothers, like a bunk bed and a bed in here. Like I was just always around people. And so just over time, you take for granted that you have people around you until you don't.
My goodness.
And you don't understand how much of a support system it is. And to be frank, sometimes our decision making demonstrates that we're taking it for granted. And then one day, and this is I know there's a question coming up about advice you would give to, and I'll leave that question for that. But I think there just comes a time where you have to look back at the decisions you've made, at the places where you invested your time. Did you have to go to that meeting? Did you have to do autumn revivals? Did you have to cancel date night so that you can show up for somebody? And these are things that are noble. These are things that are true. But one thing you learn as pastors is that the same people that you celebrate and that you help, that you write letters to the judge to let them off of gun charges. You give all that time to people. And then when you are in need, they're nowhere to be found. In fact, they are people who may end up being invested in your downfall. And so what this most recent season, because I was engaged before the pandemic and then we broke up right in the middle of it. And so dating completely changed. Thank you for saying that, Reverend Richardson. I completely changed. And I was still trying to date the way that I dated when Obama was still in office. And
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Because I had been in a relationship from 2016, to the pandemic. Pandemic It fell apart, and now I didn't realize how much the world had changed, how much I had changed, how much dating had changed. And so I was trying to navigate that world. And instead of just taking some time to just work on me, to figure out who am I, what do I like now after I've been through that,
you were trying to do it the same old way.
Yeah, trying to do it the same old way. And now, you know, in this season, I've had to, and I'm not saying I'm not miserable, I'm not depressed or anything, but those are the moments when I come home after a high moment at church, after a really dope moment in my career. I come back.
And you'd like to share it with someone, sure.
Yeah.
Reverend Richardson, how about you? What is it that you really like and what's difficult?
Yeah, I would say the same, very similar to what people are saying, that the freedom, not having to consult on my schedule. I can ebb and flow like I want to. I can travel. I can pick up tomorrow and go to the mountains if I want to and not have to consult anyone, you know, or whatever. So I do enjoy that. I think for me, it's not really when I get back home. For me, it's holidays. It's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, it's, you know, it's holidays that are more of that aspect where I've really sensed the miss, because that's when people, you know, we laugh about it, but that's when the pajama pictures are right? You know, we joke about it and all of that. But at the same time, there is this thing like, you know. So I would say that's probably the piece for me.
Yeah.
Real quick, the pajamas actually makes me glad that I'm not in them, but that's just me.
It's not specifically the pajamas.
I'm with you. I ain't doing the pajamas. Go ahead, Pastor Thompson.
Matching pajamas. I think I echo everything. Certainly the freedom. That to pick up the travel, to not have to about whether or not I want to do a 10-week revival in Australia, right? I can just go and do that. But I think part of the challenge, I won't say challenge, I will say what I heard everybody talk about, there is intention in this. And trying to live in for me, it becomes hard when I recognize that I'm still trying to shoulder other people's expectations for me.
Yeah.
When you do have the high moments, people are really, really, you know, free with sharing their desires for you. So by now, I would have thought by, and as Dr. lit up, sometimes that voice in your head will say, you know, well, Lord, why haven't I been air quotes when I chose? Right. And so trying to balance both of it, I think, can be difficult. But at the same time, pajamas, amen. But we do want the church anniversary photo, right? We do want the church anniversary.
Lord have mercy.
I'm good on that too.
Right.
Lord. Reverend Riley, we're closing out. We got a lot of single clergy watching, who will be watching this, especially folk on YouTube. Give me one recommendation that you would give to single clergy. I mean, I know there's a lot that we could give to single folk generally, but for single clergy at any age, just give me your one recommendation.
I will say this, what my mentor said to me when I accepted my call, that people will see you and will be flattered by your ministry, and they'll think they want you. They really want the idea of being with you.
Whoa.
Have a sober mind to be there, your ministry assignment, and not let the idea of what they think about being you make you accept invitations that are not for you.
Okay. Reverend Melech Thomas, give me one good thing that you would tell to single clergy. One recommendation.
Get in therapy now, because you don't want to look back. And I feel like a lot of people, just in general, regardless of profession, but particularly clergy, we have the propensity to do a lot more collateral damage than we think. And we are so aware of others that a lack of awareness of the self causes us to hurt people that we don't need to hurt. And so getting in therapy and then using therapy to mind your decisions so that when you make a choice, it's not out of pressure, but it's out of preference.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Not out of pressure, but out of preference. All right. Reverend Richardson, what's your one recommendation to single clergy?
An indication on how a person is going to handle your public spaces is how they handle theirs. How they handle their public spaces, their social media, their whatever is an indication on how they will respect yours.
Okay. All right. Okay. Pastor Hurtt, how about you? What's the one recommendation?
I'm gonna tell them to listen to everything everybody else has said, and then I have causal liability, deniability if anything goes wrong. So I haven't got no advice for you. You better just keep praying and run with the Lord and listen to what they just said, because I ain't got nothing else for you. Listen to what they said. Then if it go wrong, text them, email them, at them.
And he asked for plausible deniability.
Yeah. I tell you, stay with the Lord, child. Just stay with Jesus. That's my advice. He's a mighty good leader.
Oh, yes, he is.
Led my mother.
Dr. Thompson, give me your recommendation.
What has been helpful to me is, in case you all have not noticed, in the body of Christ, we have a whole race who are hearing, who are ending their season of public ministry. And I'm blessed to be in relationship with sisters who are not in ministry in public anymore. And I'm able to on the read in addition to what they're and learn them, hear about their pitfalls. And moreover, it has helped me be honest about me. Because that I thought I wanted, I don't even want that. And I never wanted that. But because I thought that expectation came, in order to have in this vocation, it had to look, feel like this, be mapped out like this. Sit and listen to someone's pattern for 50, 60 years, and they say to you, if I had to do it all over again, I would do it different. It's helpful to me in this season. So get you an elder and get you a therapist, get you an accountability group, and get you some friends who do not care that you are a pastor, preacher, public activist who will tell you the truth about you, and that you can just have some fun.
All right. I cannot thank this wonderful group of clergy for sharing with me today. These are busy people doing important work all over the country, and I thank God for your work, and we'll be praying for you as you continue in ministry. And just thank you for sharing with me today. God bless each of you for hitting my Cash App as an independent scholar. I appreciate that. For those on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe. And last but not least, as I always say to everybody on Facebook, share the video. It won't cost you anything, and you know today's broadcast is going to help a lot of people. It's going to free some people. It's going to help people. Share the video. God bless each of you. I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Simmons, for having us.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Simmons. This was